time, but we're so happy to be back with everyone with our special guest, Brenda Holsey from New York Life.
Yay!
Welcome, Brenda.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, not really welcome
Not yet.
because you're here at least every
other
other
month.
month.
Yeah.
So, but we're so pleased to have you here. We're so happy.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
So today we're going to be talking about what we do when retirement looks different, because we know life is lifing for all of us, and even the best of planners reach unexpected bumps in the road. So we're going to just talk about what to do when retirement looks different. We're going to go over some of those life-changing events, whether it be job loss, loss of family member, the events that could trigger these types of changes in our lives and changes in our planning. So Brenda's going to offer us some expertise. And how do we rebuild once we start to get back on our feet? So my situation a little bit, I think we kind of talked about going through those life changes of
my catastrophic
life, right? We talked about, when you do have maybe a nest egg put aside, and that nest egg has to be used for whatever reason, and you kind of have to reshift. So Brenda, I'll turn the floor over to you, and you can tell us all about yourself and
yeah, that takes too long. Call me for lunch. Tell you all about it.
Right.
So as we go through the conversation, we'll talk a little bit about some of the hiccups that you guys are aware of that I have been through. And now when you start to rediscover, okay, so it's not going to be what I thought it's going to be. But before we do that, I just want to list out what that perfect financial plan and portfolio looks like. Because if you're younger, and I'm going to say if you're under 40, there are some things that you should really do. So first and foremost, life insurance, whole life insurance that builds you cash value should absolutely be part of your financial plan.
Right. Whole life insurance.
Whole life insurance. Term has its purpose.
Yes.
Not saying don't get term. Term is good. But at some point, you need to have whole life, and you need to start building that cash value. And it doesn't have to be $500,000. It could be $25,000. It's still going to build a little bit of a nest egg for you. Second, if you're working at a company that has a 401k, a 403b, a 457a, or whatever number they decide to put on it, if your company is profit sharing with you, in other words, your company matches 2%, 3%, 4%, 6%, whatever it is, get into that plan, save pre-tax. And if you can't afford to save 10 to 13% of your income, because that's actually what you need to save to get to that finish line for retirement, you can't save that. Save the 3%, save the 4%, save the 6%, whatever it is.
Save something, whatever you're saving. Yes.
And save it pre-tax, because that actually reduces your tax bill for that particular year. The other thing that I'm going to say is don't go it alone. We at New York Life, we are financial planners. Your advisors are the ones that charge money, but there are plenty of us out there who do not charge for our services. But we have an entire company behind us, and not just the life insurance portion of New York Life, but the securities portion of New York Life. Mainstay was our investment company. We have Eagle Strategies for folks that are worth over $1 million and more. But we have access to all of that information. But whether it's those of us at New York Life, me, or anybody, don't go it alone. Do not say, oh, I can save on retirement on Robinhood. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I'm not saying don't invest. I'm not saying don't buy stock. That's not what I'm saying. But if you really, really, really want to grow your wealth and your assets, you need to have somebody guiding you along the way. Somebody who can tell you about the Fed, prime rate, and what that means for you, and why Donald Trump wants it lowered. There's a reason for that. Other than that, another hint: live below your means. whenever, let's talk about personal budget for a
Right.
moment. Whenever you are deciding what you're going to do, make sure you are looking at your net, not your gross.
Correct. Yes.
Pull the taxes out first. Say, this is what I really make in a year, and these are my expenses, and this what's left over, and decide what you're going to do with that. And always pay yourself first. Pay yourself first with that 401k. Pay yourself first. You should have 3 to 6 months of expenses in a bank account, and when you get there, treat yourself to something, and then continue to save in that bank account until there's too much money there and you need to move it someplace else so
Right.
it earns more. There are places where you can sit money and it's still liquid. You can still get to it without being charged fees for withdrawal and all that other stuff, and it'll grow a little bit faster. But basically, that's what I'm saying. A well-rounded portfolio. You should please insure yourself, insure your children.
Yep.
Because when your children get to be age 30 and you started that whole life policy at 6 months, they now have money that they can use to, pay off a student loan, put a down payment on a house, or whatever it is that they might need to be. And that way, they're not going to a bank to get that money. They're actually borrowing from themselves, paying it back from themselves. So enough of that.
That's totally a good
Just
point.
and live below your means. Stay on a budget. Don't let that realtor convince you that you make X amount of dollars
Yes,
and you can
correct.
afford this
Yeah.
house. No, this is my net, and in fact, let's just carve out everything else, and this is really my net, and then buy your house from there, and then save and move on.
Yeah.
Property rarely diminishes or decreases in value.
Right.
You'll make out better. If you do it that way. Can't really think of anything else, but yes, you should be investing. Yes, you should have life insurance. Yes, you should have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses in the bank that you don't touch. And yes, live below your means, because living below your means means you're going to have money to do the other things that you want to do.
Yes.
Whether it's car, vacation, or whatever else. I personally just can't spend money on a car.
I
I'll
think
spend
that
money on a vacation,
Oh yeah,
but I
that's
just
right. That's me
can't
too. Yes.
spend money on a car.
I do
it's
not
an
like
engine
car
and 4
payments.
wheels, and
Yes.
I don't care if it has a Mercedes logo on
Yes.
it or not.
And it
Yeah.
starts losing value the minute you take
Take
it off the
the
lot.
I
side.
know. And I know
Yes.
you can't drive memories from a vacation, but that's just me personally.
I understand that. I also believe that living below your means helps you in the event you do run into any of those rainy
Yes.
days too, right?
Yes.
So there's a little bit more flexibility
Yep.
when you have those rainy days.
So let's talk about the rainy days. I've had lots
Yes.
of them.
Whew.
So for me, I was at Verizon, I was at Comcast, I was at Exelon, Independence, Blue Cross, lots of different places. Picked up a lot of knowledge, those different
Yeah.
places. Did a lot of different things. The different companies that I worked for, it was all great. It was all well and good. But I had a plan. At Verizon, I had 27 years. At 55, I would have been able to retire. Now, that doesn't mean that I could collect Social Security or anything like
Right.
that, but I could have retired with my pension and my 401k at 55. The plan was to retire at 55, take care of my daughter, start another, do something else.
Something else.
Not that,
Yep.
not that 9 to 5
Yeah.
kind of thing, because I'm not in, doing financial planning. I'm not punching a clock. I'm not going to work 5 days a week in an office working for somebody else.
Right.
But that was the plan. Did not work out. Got laid off at 48. And I'm not going to go into everything that I did wrong. But I pulled my pension. I rolled it. I let it sit, and then I cashed it out. Really shouldn't have done that. Remember, if you are under 59 and a half, you are losing 10% of that off the top, and IRS will come for their money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you are paying taxes on it in the year that you withdraw it. I did not calculate all of that. Ended up with a rather large tax bill.
Yes.
Where the government was nice enough to take everything else that I had, and wiped that tax bill out. But that means that I was now 48, 49, 50, starting to save for retirement
Yes.
again. Went to Comcast, did save 10% in my 401k,
Mm-hmm.
ended up getting laid off, did not have my 3 to 6 months of
Savings.
of savings. Did get a severance, like I did from Verizon. Did get a severance. Did not land a job from Verizon. I did not land a job at Comcast for 9 months.
Okay.
So my severance was pretty much done.
Yeah.
But that was, those are some of the things that I did. But when I got laid off from Comcast, I had saved a nice little nest egg. I was there for 4 years. Had saved a nice little nest egg in my 401k. Should have rolled it. But I was diagnosed with cancer. So rather than wait for Medicaid to tell me that I was eligible,
Yes.
when I had to start treatment right away, I went ahead, took the Comcast Cobra, which was astronomical.
That Cobra.
Yes.
But I'm here, obviously.
Yes.
But that 6-month severance that I got went away in 3 months.
Right.
And I did not get another job for 8 months.
Yeah.
I was out of work for 8 months. It has taken me a really long time to land. And I'm not the only person.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would say if I had followed the rules that I said at the very beginning, if I had my 3 to 6 months in the bank, if I was living below my means, I might have been able to last a little bit longer before I landed my next job. Went to Exelon, did not get, was there for 4 months. Now you're playing catch up.
Yeah.
Now you're paying all the bills that you didn't pay.
Yes.
And, you're just trying to breathe, and was hoping to get hired on, did not. That's a whole nother story. We can have lunch. And went back to Comcast on a contract. Contract work was very lucrative, but you get abused because you're not an employee.
Right.
So you have no recourse. Got abused at Comcast. Learned a lot. Learned an awful lot. But when the person that I was reporting to came to me and said, we're going to need you in the office for 6 months, for 60 hours a week, and we're only paying you for 40, well,
Yeah.
that's a labor law violation. I should have handled that differently, didn't, left there, and it took me a long time to land. And I say all that to say that you have to make changes. You have to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about, this is in the realm of when you get laid off.
Yeah.
You have to tighten your belt, and then at some point you have to make the hard choices. Like, okay, do I now sell my house and buy something cheaper, which you're not going to be able to do because you're not employed? Then where do I go, and how do I hold on to that money?
Mm-hmm.
How do I avoid capital gains tax, and
Yep.
And those types of things. So all of that are things to be considered. So let's fast forward to, it's the same as if whenever your circumstances change. So for those who are able to stay at home, and have a breadwinner, whoever that might be, and you lose that breadwinner, did they have life insurance? If the answer is no, now what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then your future looks, because now it's about, okay, so this is what I've got to take care of. I got to take care of, the kids. I've got to take care of the house, and I got to find a job. And it's very, very tough. Planning is everything. So for my journey, when I did sell my home, and of course I became a caregiver, and that's just another part of my particular journey. So I am in the house where I grew up when we moved here to Delaware. I took care of my father until he passed away. I'm taking care of my mother now, who's doing fine. But I'm 63 years old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So although New York life has afforded me time to take care of my mother and my daughter and to do other things, when you're not working, you're not making any money.
Correct.
Yes.
So then it becomes, okay, so now what does my retirement look like? All right, so let's talk about Social Security for a second. We're all eligible for Social Security at 62. You take it at because I'm assuming we're all in the 67 67 and a half range,
Okay.
depending on how old,
Mhm.
because we're all, I know I'm older than you guys, but we're all in that same
Yes,
bucket that the government put us in. So we're all in that age 67
Yep.
range. So if you take it at 62, you're losing 24%. So then it becomes, well, how do I live off of that?
Right.
You know, okay, that's not going to work.
Right.
So then you're like, okay, then let me get to 65 or let me get to 67. You're going to have to do something else. But don't be so rigid about what that something else is.
Okay.
You know, I had a catering business.
Mhm.
You know, I would love to go back. But you know, you need exposure to
Right,
do that,
yeah.
and when
Right.
you're caring for people, that's hard to do. I love to cook. So I had a
Mhm.
catering business. Like I said, I did contract work, but you know, the older you get, the harder it is to land.
Yeah.
You know, so I've reached a point where now I have to be my own business. You know,
Mhm.
so yes, I work for New York Life, but New York Life does not pay me a salary every
Okay.
week. You know, I work on 100% commission. So when I meet people and I help them with their planning and we do business, that's how I get paid. That's rough, but for my circumstances, it works for me.
It
It
for
works
you.
for you.
And why is that? Because I don't have a mortgage.
Mhm.
I don't have a car payment.
Mhm.
I don't have debt.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
and I have a place to live.
Mhm.
Even though I don't sick of looking at my old bedroom, I have a place. I have a place to live.
Right.
You know, so it also affords me time to decide what's it going to look like next.
Yes,
Right.
Because
correct.
my mom's fine; she's not going anywhere. My great aunt's 102. Mom ain't going nowhere.
Yes.
So now, you know, that's not to say I don't need to make a plan,
Mhm.
but for this foreseeable future, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if I can get to 70, because at 67, that's your full retirement, it's a certain number. If I get to 70, you get an extra 24%. So my goal
Mm.
in right now is to let me get to 70.
Okay.
If I get to 70, I will actually be replacing the income that I had when I was at Comcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Understood.
So I gotta get to 70.
You gotta get
Now,
okay.
if I
Understood.
run to 70, okay, great. If I'm limping to 70, oh well. That's my goal is I need to get to 70. Along the way, where am I going to live? What you know, I at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I want to get back into a house. I don't know that that's going to happen,
Right.
and so you got to be okay with that.
Mhm.
You know, do I want to necessarily stay in this area? No, I'm probably going to have to retire someplace in the country where it's a little bit cheaper to live.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
and I have to be okay with that.
Yes.
You know, in the meantime, let me keep working. Let me do what I'm doing. Let me get to 70. That's me. That's my process. For each one of us, it's different.
It's different.
You know, we're at a different place
Yeah.
in life. We're different ages. You know,
Different wants.
different wants. You
Right.
know, or even our needs.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm looking to, but that's where I am. So that retirement that I thought I would have at 55 and what it would look like now at 70 is going to look very different.
Yeah.
And different is not necessarily a bad thing. Me and my roadie, because Sonia will always be with me until I'm gone or I'm too old to take care of her. You know, me and my roadie, we can go discover something, or I'll
Yeah.
keep working.
Yeah.
You know, it's unknown, but it's not as scary as when you think about it, when you start making those adjustments
Yeah.
in your mind.
In your mind. Yes.
You know what, this may not be what I have again.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
So questions from you all about you know, that shift that you know.
I think you've said a lot, because one of the things is you've got to realize that your journey or your retirement may not look like everybody else's, and you've got to be content with that, right? Yeah. And I know for me, I realized that I don't need all of what I thought I needed, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't need that 6-figure income. It was nice, but I don't need it, right?
Yeah.
So and back to what you said, you've got to be okay with it.
Yeah.
You've got to be okay. So it's about a reflection
Mm-hmm.
on where you are and what you want to do.
I did not think that I would be sandwiched at this point in my life, that where I'm taking care of, aging parents or parent, and still be taking care of a child, even though she's 28. She's still, she's still a child. She still needs care.
Right.
But I never would have thought that this was. But then again, when you have those things, those layoffs, the illnesses, the, and you're still here. It's so important to get up every day and say, you know what am I accomplishing today?
Yes.
Because if you sit, and if you are the type of person who sits and says, I can't do it, go get some therapy.
Yeah.
And understand that you can do it. But it might not be landing that 6-figure job again.
Yeah.
I never recovered when I left Independence Blue Cross. And again, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I'd get another contract job, I'd be okay. But I can't. I said to myself, I can't sit here and do this work and get a 25-cent raise every year. I'm sorry, I'm worth more than that.
Yeah.
And although I have not made as much. That was last year. Maybe this year will be different. Maybe next year. No, actually, next year will be better. I know why. I have clients retiring. That's why I know why. Next year will be better. But it's like, I can do more than this.
Yeah.
I'm worth more than this. And and I was trying to get a promotion there, trying to move back into management, and was literally surrounded by people who could not manage.
Yeah.
And did not understand the business, or business at all. But because they were somebody's child, or they looked a certain way, they moved out ahead of me, and I'm like, okay, no. There was no future for me there. Don't be afraid to go carve out your own future.
That's it.
And say, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is not where I want to be.
Yep.
And then think about that. What's that plan going to be? I would never have probably taken this road had I not knew I was not going to be able to hold on to my house at the salary that I was making.
Yes, correct.
Wasn't really able to get another job. And once I sold the house, I was like, you know what? I can do something else.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend the next 4 years. Now I've been here for 8 years, and I'm only making, $2.50 more than I was making 4 years ago. I don't have to do that now.
Yep.
Let me go find another path. I got recruited by an insurance company, got licensed in New York first. But that company was just auxiliary services. They worked with unions. Would have gone to New Zealand if I'd had to, because they actually did business in New Zealand. Like, can I go there? But it just wasn't it wasn't challenging enough. When I got licensed in New York Life called me. Clearly, they looked at my LinkedIn profile. They saw where I've worked. They saw what I've done, and they said, "We want you to come into the partner program." Okay, that's when I joined New York Life. Unfortunately, when I looked at what the partner program entailed, it's like I was taking care of my father at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way I could be successful as a partner. Let me just be an agent.
Yeah.
This is why I'm an agent today. But the difference is I'm registered. I should have 2 designations by the end of the year. I can trade stock. I can open a brokerage account for you. I can roll your 401ks. I can sell you life insurance. I can plan out your estate. I never would have been able to do any of that.
Yes.
If I was, if I had stayed with that other company. So it's, for me, it's always about knowledge.
Yes.
It's so, I'm so corny, as my stepdaughter says, but my high school class ring said knowledge is power. I did not understand what that meant when I graduated from high school.
Yep.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
And you know, to those of you who are younger, I so want to work with the HBCUs. These kids graduating need to know what to do, what not to do, nobody taught me that.
Yes.
Nobody teaches us that.
Exactly.
Nobody teaches us finance. You know, and this idea of when you inherit money, oh, let me go get a car. Oh my goodness. I just worked with a client who received a lump sum of money, said, I need to invest, I need to save for retirement, but spend it all on 3 vacations.
Oh man.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so when are you getting more? Oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like so this is one thing that we say at New York Life. A couple things we say at New York Life. Always take the free money.
Mm-hmm.
That's your 401k,
Yeah.
your 403b, your 401k.
Yes.
Take the free money. Second, real wealth requires discipline. And sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
You
Correct.
should have foregone the 3 vacations, disciplined yourself, and put some of that money to work for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make your money work for you.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that.
So I think that goes to a good point, because when you talked in the beginning about those basic responsibilities that we have for our money, right? You said, take the free money, make sure that we have our 3 to 6 months in the bank, get our whole term policy.
Life insurance.
We need someone that's going to hold us accountable too. So you almost need to, in those basic steps, you also need to build your accountability and your support system too. That someone that will say, "Oh no, you don't need that those 3 vacations,"
right?
And not someone that's going to be like, "Oh, where are we going next, girl?"
Or get a club together and say, "Okay, where am I?"
Yes.
Okay, when we have all checked off these 3 items, because you can't do it all at once. You really can't. You can't have that side annuity that you're putting money into, especially if you're under 50 anyway, because you can only save so much a year. You could open a brokerage account and put it there because you can invest as much as you want there. But, somebody to say, okay, when these 3 things are checked off, because there's a laundry list. There is your income disability insurance, there's your long-term care. It's a whole bunch of stuff that makes up that perfect portfolio, that well-rounded, that sound financial plan. Let's start with the first 3. Did I get my whole life insurance? Do I have my 3 to 6 months in the bank? Am I saving? Am I at least saving what my company's matching in my 401k? Okay, let's do something. Let's buy something. Let's go somewhere. Let's whatever. Okay, now what's next on the list? Okay, can you save more in the 401k? Let's add another 25% to that 3 to 6 months. We've done that. All right, let's get some income disability insurance. Let's look at long-term care before one of us gets sick. Because a lot of things I'm not, when did I get cancer? I don't know. I was 53, I think.
Yeah.
Was like,
And that's not something that
52?
you plan.
Yeah, right. And you don't
I think
plan
the
for
summer
this
of
thing.
95, I'm going to get very ill. No.
Right. Right, exactly.
Right.
So, but with that, it says, this is why you get your life insurance when you're young.
Okay.
Because if you get sick, they're not taking it back.
Yes.
But if you don't get it, and then you get sick,
It's
you're
hard.
not going to
Yes,
you're not going to be able to get it, or it's going to be so expensive. Get it while you're young. Get it while you're young.
Get it while you're young.
Get it while you're young. And this notion of, when we talk about generational wealth, this notion of, nobody left me anything. Okay. I was like, I'm still, oh my goodness, me and my siblings, we're still mad at my dad, but anyway. Because my dad did not believe in life insurance. He left my mother penniless. Why? Okay, she couldn't cook, but why? So this, and I've talked to people who, colleagues in the industry, and one in particular shared a story with me. A woman was dying. She was working on her beneficiaries. Son was on drugs. She had a $500,000 life insurance policy. She was leaving $250,000 to her daughter. She was going to leave the $250,000 to her son. And he said, "Why are you leaving him $250,000 if he's on drugs?
Yeah.
Why are you not putting that in a trust for him so that he always has a roof over his head? Why don't you make your daughter his trustee, so she can make sure that he is at least has his basic living needs, but don't hand him $250,000."
That's a good point. And I just started a new position, and we're going over our benefits and marking down our beneficiaries. And the statement was made, and I had never looked at it this way, but this person that is your beneficiary is going to be responsible for tying up all of your loose ends. It's not just necessarily who you want to set up or who you want to financially take care of.
Yeah.
This is the person that you are trusting to handle all of your final business, carry out all of your final wishes. So you can designate that one person to be in charge of everything else. But I always looked at, beneficiary is the person that, I'm going to hook this person up if something happens to me.
Yeah.
But not thinking about, this is the person that I'm going to need working on my behalf when I'm no longer here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very good point.
And I love my daughter, I do. But she tends to get stressed, and I should have a trust anyway, because I have a disabled child, and I'm working through that. But so we Greens, Green being my maiden name, we have control issues. Yeah, we like to control. I want to control from the grave, but I also want to make sure that that she doesn't get pressured to do something that one of those things that you just need to work through.
Yes.
Instead of just trying to just get rid of it or pay it off, whatever.
Yes.
Because this money has to go a really long way.
Yeah.
So, and when I'm gone, she's going to have to care for her sister, and she'll have, but then there's, like you said, I don't, like my ex-husband and I, we were talking, her father and I were talking, and where he was saying, well, I'm going to leave her money, and I was like, don't do that, because then she won't have her benefits anymore. Then she's going to have to get she's going to have to get health insurance. She's going to, where is she going every day while Renee is still working? I was like, don't leave her anything.
It has to be strategic.
It's either it's going to go in trust, or you're going to have to leave it to one of the other sisters, Renee or Lauren or whoever, to take care of her. But I said this is why we're doing the trust.
Yes.
Because we don't want her benefits messed up because she needs them. Because Renee can't afford to to get health insurance for her on the market. And she can't afford that.
Yeah. And so this also speaks to everyone's portfolio looks different.
Yeah.
Everyone's plan looks different, right? So it's very important that we have these conversations, right? And this transparency that will allow us to build the best financial kind of portfolio for our own situation.
Each one is individual. Some people's estates are more complex than others. Some people don't. My father didn't. I don't remember the bill collection. We're calling about there is no estate.
Yeah, right.
The man didn't have life insurance.
Right.
And he made sure that nobody could get the house. So we ain't getting it either.
Right.
Yeah, we got issues in our family, but we sit around.
Well, but all of that is
we
because
just laugh about that.
I to this day will say that there's a house in Wilmington that technically is ours, but that's a good point, right? When people pass away, what happens to the property? Making sure that all of that is documented so that the people that you intend to benefit from those things actually get it, and it doesn't doesn't create chaos.
And please, get a will.
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 I don't care what you have or don't have.
Get a will.
Get
Get
a will. I have nothing, and I still have a will.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very liberating, by the way.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It really is.
It really
It's
is.
like there's a woman from Jamaica. She passed away, long passed away, but she used to say, the more you have, the more you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, retirement for me is going to be, Sonia, where do you want to go next?
That's what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
And we even talked about getting our RVs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what. Yes.
Sonia, where either I'm going to find a cheap piece of property in Western PA. I'm a Steelers fan anyway. Sorry, Eagles fans. Or we will be on the road. We'll just, where do you want to go next? You know?
I love that.
And that's okay.
I know
That's-
my brother and sister, my brother-in-law have a house. I can park my RV there. I got friends in Australia. Where do you want to go next?
Yeah.
Let's go to Australia for a year.
Yeah.
Prioritizing the things that are important to
Yeah.
you, right?
Because ordinarily I wouldn't do that. You know, I'd be home.
Right.
But you know, that doesn't exist anymore. So it's like, and if it's just me and her,
On the road again.
On the road again.
I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, it just looks very different. And I know a lot of people who sold their homes and they have their RV
Yes.
parked on the side of somebody's property,
Yes.
and they're just doing whatever.
Yep.
And then they get in their RV
And they go
And they
to
go
the
and they go to the
destination.
and they go to
destination.
the next place
Yep.
that they're going. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had
That's
a
just one
coworker that did that and did it at I want to say like 55 or something like that. And that's ideal to me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That is
Yeah.
ideal.
So we think in terms of, and don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong. Some people downsize in retirement.
Mhm.
Some people upsize
Mhm.
in retirement. They go bigger. There's nothing wrong with owning a home.
Mhm.
There is nothing wrong, and that's I'm just not in a. I don't think I'm in a position where I'm going to be able to do that again. So I need to just think a little differently. I will say to you, if you have a home, and I said this to my son-in-law, he's 26. I said you need to hold on, especially in this market.
Yes.
I said you need to hold on to that property at all costs.
Yeah.
And if that means you got to rent out your basement,
Yep.
then rent out your basement,
Yep.
because now is not the time
Mhm.
to sell and then go into an apartment because
Yes.
rent is astronomical.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then think that you're going to get back into a house. I made that mistake. You know, I always sold too quickly. I don't know how I would have held on to my last house. I just didn't have the income.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how I would have done that and cared for my parents at the same time.
mhm.
It wasn't going to work.
Mhm.
But I also have places to go.
Yeah.
You know, I can go to Oklahoma with my brother. I can go wherever
Mhm.
my sister's going. I don't want to.
Let's
I
talk
don't
about
live
that
with
though.
So,
But let's talk about that. The reality that you community and,
Mhm.
and utilizing the community that you have in some of that decision making that you're doing.
Yeah.
And you said you could you know multiple places that you could go.
Yeah. I don't
And-
want to stay there.
But
yeah.
you could go.
I could sit for a minute.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
they, until we all got on each other's nerves and
And it was time to
it's
go
time
to
to
the
go.
next. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's
I
some
think the other thing is that in our culture, I believe
Yeah.
that we've gotten to the point where everybody needs to have their
Yes,
own, right?
yes.
So there's so much excess, and we talk about living beyond our means. Like everybody needs to have their own space, but in some cultures, that community is real, right?
Mhm.
There are multiple generations living in
Living
one
in a
home.
house.
Yes, in
Yeah.
a house. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's also how you help catapult the next generation.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
So when we talk about generational wealth, that would be the grandfather
Mm-hmm.
who left money for the grandchildren.
Correct.
You know, and then the parents who in turn left money as well, so that there are resources that you can
Mhm.
pull from.
Yes.
You know, so you're not going to the bank. So
Mhm.
when something happens, you have a resource that you can pull from to get you through, to get you by, to get you over. And we don't necessarily think like that. You know, and I guess my father didn't think like that. You know, he didn't see the point in helping us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe he thought, well, they'll do better than I did, or not. But it didn't quite work out that way.
I think it has a lot to do with, and we're probably going into another conversation, but I think it has a lot to do with being in survival mode.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly living, and if you have built your life, or if you've been taught that you live in this survival mode, you never really see the ability or the necessity to plan.
Yeah.
And some people don't.
You don't get a chance to plan.
You don't get a chance to plan
Yeah.
because it's so reactive, right? You're constantly reacting.
Yeah.
So,
and I've been there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm in the situation that I am, because I reacted and I probably shouldn't have. I made a decision and probably should have thought about it a little bit more. Probably should have asked a financial planner instead of the people that I spoke with.
Mm-hmm.
To say how do you do this? I just acquired a client in survival mode, and I said, before anything, you need to solve this first.
Right. Yes.
I said, because you can't keep spending this because you don't have this.
Correct.
And it's a car.
Yeah.
And I said,
those cars will get you.
I said, you're spending a lot of money on rideshare because you don't have a car. We need to get fixed. But that car does not mean go get a car loan
or a Lamborghini
or whatever you're going to be driving is going to get you to and from work. It's not going to be great, but you need to free up this resource.
Yes.
So that you can do other things.
Mm-hmm.
Until if you keep spending this, you'll never be able to accomplish what's on your list.
Yes.
This is the first thing. She wants to invest, and I was like, no, we need to get you a car first.
So Brenda, when you come back, our next discussion, I would like to talk about the mental health aspects of some of these behaviors too, right? So a lot of what may appear on the surface, these problems that need to be solved, there may be some underlying mental health type of issues that need to be worked through before people can get over certain blocks or certain humps. And I'm sure you see that too, right? Especially spending, because a lot of impulsive shopping. Yeah, you know what I mean? The impulsive shopping and all that. Yeah. You probably see all of that with your clients too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And it's like, so, again, where's your discipline? Where's your sacrifice? Ultimately, what is your goal? We all want to feel good.
Yeah.
When we've been through stuff, I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it, but when we've been through stuff and you just want a sense of a piece of normalcy, or you just want to, can I just go out to dinner? Especially when you're really, really tight.
Yeah.
Can I just go out to dinner? Can I just take a little vacation?
Yeah.
Can I just, you have to ask yourself, can I? And if I do, what's it going to cost me in the long run? And we don't always have those conversations with ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's really hard when you're in survival mode and there's nothing but, my mom and I had this conversation last night. The difference between like my kids and maybe my nieces and nephews is that my kids went without. I went without. And it wasn't for long periods of time, and we were okay. We're okay now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look like I've missed a few meals. I'm okay. But you had to make those choices. And say, you know what, I can't do that because I got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets tiring.
Yeah.
When you can't do anything for yourself or anything for anybody else because you've got to do what you've got to take care of the need.
Yeah.
And your want isn't even remotely considered.
Right.
And you can't see, okay, when will I ever get out of this?
Yes.
And that's, again, that's when you got to sit down and you got to make that plan. And sometimes you need help with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this client is not doing business with me. I'm just trying to get her out of that survival mode because I've been there.
Yeah.
And no, you can't keep spending this. We got to figure out a way to get you a car and get you a car in a way that if you have a hiccup, your car doesn't get repossessed.
Right.
I said, so, and in fact, I'll be talking to her next week and say, okay, would you come up with, just did the same thing with my son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you can't keep, and for him, he had saved a little bit of money. I said, but you can't keep buying these $2,300 cars that you then have to put $5,000 into. You know, I said, we need to find you a reliable car. And he did that, but I really want this and I really want that. And and here's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get you what you need.
Right.
It's not about a want
Not
right
about a
now.
want.
It's about a need, because at some point you got to get out of the hole that you're in, so you can actually satisfy your wants.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but if we take nothing away from this, you know, if you're young, under 40, get your life insurance.
Life insurance,
If you are at a company that has a profit sharing, get into it.
profit sharing.
10 to 13% is what you really need. Do what you can afford. Do not be insurance poor. Do what you can afford.
Mhm.
You know, and
Don't leave any money on the table as far as matching.
match it, and put your 3 to 6 months in the bank and don't touch it
Yes.
Yeah.
for that rainy day. Rainy days will come. Hopefully it's rain and not, you know, a tsunami.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Brenda, how can people get in touch with you? We know you're a regular here at the cottage, but how can people get in touch with you if they do need your support
Expertise.
and
So-
expertise?
My number is 609-707-1317. Give me a call. My email address is brholsey, so it's Brenda R. Robin Holsey, Holsey, brholsey at ftfrankthomas.newyorklife.com. If you go to the New York Life website for Delaware and you click on not the partners, but you click on our practice or whatever, you will see me in there.
Okay.
And you can click right on a link to get to me directly.
Okay.
So I do have a website.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much.
Any closing message you want to give out to the world?
Everything can be achieved with a plan, and I'm not necessarily talking financial plan. I'm just talking, if you're willing to make an adjustment, you can still reach your goals.
Yes.
You know, it's sometimes we have to shift the paradigm in our brain in order to see things differently.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, and it's not all bad.
Not all bad.
And you know, but ask professionals. You know, if you, I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been through a lot. I can tell you, oh no, don't do that, because this, and this might happen.
Yes.
You might want to think about this, and this. You know, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Knowledge is
Knowledge
power.
is power.
Yes,
There
power.
it is. There it is.
You know, just you know, if there are different ways, as we say at New York,
Yes.
like there's 10 different ways to skin a cat.
Yep.
It looks different
For
for
everyone.
everybody.
Yep.
You know,
Knowledge
absolutely.
is power.
but
Knowledge
retirement can still look good.
Yes.
It just might look
Different.
Different.
Absolutely.
just might look different.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you very much, Brenda. Thank you, everyone,
Everybody,
for joining
yes.
us.